The News Channel 8 studios, this is Let's Talk Live.
We are talking about mistakes today.
Yes, we are. And of course, we're human. We all make mistakes, right? But the trick here is not to repeat history.
And communication expert Stephen Gaffney is here to help us not make the same mistake over and over again. Welcome back, Stephen. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you all.
So you do see people out there who find themselves falling again, and again. What is going on with those people? Why are they repeating their mistakes?
Well, there's three things they need to be doing, but the first thing is the worst lies we ever tell are the lies we tell ourselves. So often people play the blame game. So the first step is they really need to look at how is this happening and taking responsibility and saying, I'm sorry. And here's the good news. The more we accept responsibility, the better it is because we can change ourselves. So if you think about it, if you're in a situation and you say, okay, I've made a mistake, you say it to yourself first. It puts you in the driver's seat of what to do. Then what's really important is to apologize. How often have you met somebody who just can't say, I'm sorry? How about when they say this? Here's my favorite. I'm sorry you feel that way. Ooh. Or how about this one? I'm sorry, but you never told me. You didn't do this. You didn't do this. They play the blame game.
You know, that is so important that you're pointing that out because I think people need to get in touch with that. You are going to repeat the mistake until you can get in touch with it and admit it, acknowledge it to yourself before you apologize to anybody. You have to see that you've made the mistake.
So many of us are in denial about
Get out of denial.
As somebody once said, denial is not a river in Egypt. You know?
Why can't we accept that we've made a mistake? Why are we in denial?
Well, I think we live in a culture of blame. I think that sometimes we've been told, don't accept responsibility. But if you really look at it, research shows that when you accept responsibility, people are incredibly forgiving. For example, in the medical community, they have found out that doctors who actually apologize and accept responsibility for a mistake are less likely to be sued than doctors who will not admit a mistake. Now, I'm not a lawyer, but I am an expert in communication, and I can tell you that what happens is that people just will not accept responsibility, and playing the blame game never works. Blame creates blame.
Maybe in a work setting, do you think people feel like I can't own up to a mistake because then I'll look like I'm not performing at the top level? And is that what goes through people's minds? Is that why they can't accept?
I think that's it. And I think what happens is that we're very tough on people when they make a mistake. But here's what I found out. If you do three things in particular, then actually leaders are incredibly forgiving and actually will often promote people because they're growing. See, look at it this way. If you look at your life, I have grown definitely out of the mistakes I'm making. I'm not saying we should try to make mistakes, but think about it. Pivotal points in your life were probably mistakes. I'll give you an example. I gave a speech at the beginning when I was starting my career over 20 years ago, almost 20 years ago now. And the speech was so bad that people got up and left. Oh yeah, they were unforgiving about it. They just left.
They had really bad taste in speeches, didn't they?
So
they couldn't appreciate a good speech.
No, and I could have rationalized that. It's them, they don't appreciate me, they're not a good audience,
Terrible audience.
But I looked at it and I was, first of all, incredibly embarrassed. So I did the very first thing. I apologized to my customer. And you know what? She was really great. I actually offered to give back the money. And she said, no, it wasn't that bad. And then what I did is I went home and I sulked for 3 days. But I started to figure out that if I got myself in this situation, if I studied what happened, I could actually correct the situation, which leads to point number 2, lessons learned. And you know what's fascinating? That speech has now turned into one of the top speeches I give across the world because of what I learned back at that point and realizing that I had messed up. But if I hadn't realized that and hadn't accepted responsibility, I would have never grown. So we grow by mistakes, not by successes.
What was this speech about? I got to know.
It was on honest communication.
Oh, see, there you go.
What is now a landmark session of what I do, but it all came back to, and when I think back, I'm still embarrassed that that happened. I still almost want to say, where's my customer? Maybe I can give them some, anyway. But the point is that we learn by not by trying to make mistakes, but by growing from the mistakes. And the reason why history repeats itself is because we don't, number 1, accept responsibility. Number 2, we don't look at the lessons. And number 3, we don't create a plan that actually corrects the situation, right? If you think, oh, I'm learning all this, but you don't apply it to a plan and you don't implement the plan, then history will repeat itself.
So give us an example. I mean,
Sure.
like what would a plan be?
Well, a plan would be, for example, and back to my speech situation, I realized that I didn't know much about group dynamics, and I hadn't really studied the audience. And so I studied group dynamics, and we developed a way to kind of learn about the audience, and then that helped me be able to adjust the content. That would be an example. Another example that I've realized is with hiring, right? You make a bad hire. What can you do? You look at what did I miss in the interview, and how can I better detect that? So now I've hired one of the greatest employees I've ever had. Her name is Brianna. She's been fantastic.
Wow.
All right.
Lesson learned.
Gaffney, thank you very much. We're going to try to keep it honest and own up when we make a mistake.
And people don't want somebody who's infallible anyway, right? I mean, they can't relate to them. So good to see you, Steve. Thanks for coming in. Hope you have a wonderful weekend.